The Angels had 14 hits and 6 walks in last night's game. So what did they do with all those base runners? We'll tell you. It's time to get locked on with Mike and Jon, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now on SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. Smile, Jonathan. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And those watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
I'm not feeling very super. I'm not feeling very Halo or very bro right now, Mike, because last night was a disaster, and this team is a disaster, and I'm ready to pull the plug on it. Let's go through our usual spiel, and then I'll give you all of my spicy, unfiltered thoughts.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts, everybody. Listen, it's our second season here with you at Locked On Angels. Obviously, we love this team. We wouldn't be here if that weren't the case.
Right.
There are better things to do with our time than to watch the terrible Angels on a Monday night. But listen, Locked On Everydayers, join us tomorrow. We're going to recap this 4th of July game. Happy 4th of July, by the way. That's something to smile about.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're spending it with family and friends. They're taking on the Padres, and we're going to recap that start from Shohei Ohtani. Juan Soto seems to think he's going to have a hard time against that lineup. Juan? We'll see, Juan. On today's show, we're talking about Carlos Estevez and his all-star snub, and we're talking about this Halos offense, Mike, and how they can make adjustments at the plate, which is sorely needed after last night and that Padres game where they lost 10-3.
Yeah, let's talk first about Mike Trout. He took a swing last night and he fouled a ball off, and then he immediately started shaking his hand and shaking his wrist. Looked like he hurt something. And as of this recording right now, we don't have any updates. Rhett Bollinger did tweet that Mike Trout said his wrist still hurt after the game. He said he's never had a wrist injury before, so he's trying to stay optimistic, but he looked concerned. And he also said that he's hopeful that it's just a strained wrist. Jeff Fletcher said that Trout said, hey, just praying that the results come back clean. It doesn't feel great. We're hopeful that it's just a sprained wrist. Johnny, that was a scary moment, and putting all of this aside, the team and
just the icing on the cake, Mike, on a terrible night.
It was hard.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, and to see him go down, I mean, he's been really hot lately. Like, he's really been picking it up.
He's played 80 games this season, and they're at 86.
He's played a long time.
Yeah.
Right. So just super frustrating to see that happen. Johnny, is this an opportunity for Mickey Moniak to play full time, or is it an opportunity for Joe Adell to come up and actually prove himself?
Both. They need to be in this lineup every single day. You watched it, Mike. 4 for 16 with runners in scoring position, and this lineup can't get it done. And it's because they don't have the best guys on the field. You got Trey Cabbage hitting bombs. He hit his 22nd last night. You got Joe Adell hitting his 23rd bomb. I don't care if he strikes out at a 30% clip. He's going to get the Angels on the board. Otherwise, let's just be fine with 10-3 games where nobody can drive anybody in because this offense sucks. And I have this great still from after the game, Mike, and here's what it is. Shohei Ohtani was walking through the dugout. He put his bat away. He put his helmet up in the cubby. It fell out. And so Phil Nevin had his back to this whole situation. Now, maybe to Phil's perception of the moment, Shohei threw his helmet in there and it fell out. That's not what happened, but the helmet fell out. Phil Nevin turns around, sees what happens. He sees the helmet on the ground. He sees Shohei walking down the tunnel. And then this is the look. And if you're on the audio side, I have this on Twitter, but for our friends and family and viewers on YouTube, this is Phil Nevin after that moment, pondering his future, pondering what's going on with his team, pondering, what am I doing wrong? Well, Phil, Mike, and Jon, the scrubs from Locked On Angels, are here to tell you what you're doing wrong. Your lineup construction sucks. The best players in your organization are not currently on this team. You've made terrible bullpen decisions by having a rookie come in to face, Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and Juan Soto. You have a rook come in to pitch. You waste Sam Bachman, who is one of your best relievers, and you use him in long relief. I said this after the game, Mike, if there's not a chair thrown, if there's not a fire up the boys speech, if there's not a closed door meeting after this game, then this team is going nowhere. And I truly, truly believe that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're running out the same lineups, the same structure, the same game plan night after night after night. And it's not working. None of it's working. Shake it up. Take something and shake it. Like, what are you doing? It's ridiculous. So again, I ask you, Phil Nevin, and your pondering face, take a good look at it because you can tell that he's really got the wheels turning there. What are you going to do, Phil? What are you going to do to fix this situation? Because all of this is on you. The approach at the plate, all of it is on Phil Nevin.
Yeah, and the bottom of the lineup is just terrible. And I know there were,
they shouldn't be there.
There were David Fletcher fanatics that were like, how come he wasn't called up when Padlo was called up? And I think we're finding out why he wasn't called up. David Fletcher's terrible. He's not good. And he has moments where he's better than maybe Anthony Velasquez, but those are your two options. And that's what's really
Andrew
frustrating.
Velasquez?
Can't even say his name right. I'm so frustrated.
He's so forgettable.
I'm also thinking of Anthony Rendon, who has been terrible as well. And you and I have talked a lot about Anthony Rendon, and he just is awful. I mean, ground ball double play when the Angels had a runner on in the first, and they had two runners on in every inning up until the fifth inning, even the sixth inning. They had two runners on. At one point, they had the bases loaded with one out, and they just couldn't do anything. Hunter Renfroe is watching pitches go straight down the middle, and he's swinging at balls that are completely out of the strike zone. So either he needs to get his eyes checked, or he needs to work on something, or he needs to be out of that game because he is swinging at terrible pitches and he's watching really good pitches go straight down the pipe. And again, that bottom of the lineup is just awful. Why can't you move Escobar down to 8 and maybe move somebody up? Why can't you move some of the lineup pieces around? I know Trout got hurt, but before he got hurt, like why isn't Trout batting maybe at third or maybe even batting leadoff? And by the way, when Trout got his RBI single, Taylor Ward, why are you running back to second base? he hit the ball straight up the middle.
What a great leadoff guy. Sean Figgins 2.0, Michael. He's reincarnation.
Terrible. He's terrible. And I know he got a hit, and I know he got an RBI, and I know he had 2 doubles, and his numbers have been increasing in the last few weeks. But he has these moments where it feels like he should be on the bench and somebody else should be in for him. Mickey Moniak, by the way. And I think that they need to give Mickey Moniak opportunities against lefties. I know that he hasn't looked great. I know that he's only had like 10 plate appearances and he has maybe 1 hit and like 6 strikeouts, but I would rather have him trying to figure it out on the field than Taylor Ward trying to figure out how to be a baseball player and a base runner on the field. It was so ridiculous to watch that ball. He could have scored. That would have been a third run, would have been momentum, but then I say that out loud, and then I think to myself, no, he wouldn't have scored because Taylor Ward runs like one of those Mario characters or like from Wreck-It Ralph, the movie, where he just kind of moves and barely moves his arm. Yes, exactly. Feels like a Goomba out there. And so I just 4 for 16 with runners in scoring position is awful. 14 runners left on base is awful. You have 14 hits and 6 walks, Johnny, and you only score 3 runs. What the Padres did last night is what the Angels should have done. The Padres had key hits in key moments. All the Angels needed to do is get 3 extra hits, and they would have been able to add probably 5 to 6 extra runs because they had the base runners on base. Yeah,
they had them on second and third at multiple times during the game. I watched Fernando Tatis hit one the other way. It was a high fastball, a little bit outside. And what does he do, Mike? He goes with the pitch, and he hits it the other way, and then Triples. They score again. Yeah, he triples. It's just like, Everybody has the same cookie cutter approach when they get up there, unless you're Ohtani, because Ohtani's Ohtani, right?
Yeah.
And or Trout too. But it's insane to me. Somebody on Twitter made a good point. They said, you got to pick a hill to die on. Either these guys are good, like the young guys are good, the coaching staff is helping, or they're not helping. And I contend that they aren't helping. Carlos Estevez, you got him at a Coors Field. Guess what? He's a good pitcher. Guys who are doing well, who are hurt right now, like Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, they came up from AAA or other organizations. Mickey Moniak, another organization. You've got Reed Detmers figuring out his slider issues on his own because of something he learned last year from not the major league pitching coach, but the AAA pitching coach. And then you got guys like Hunter Renfroe coming over, and they suck. It's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And so the hill that I will die on is that this coaching staff sucks, that Phil Nevin needs to really hammer home stuff like base running with Taylor Ward and stop putting him in the leadoff position.
Yeah,
like I said, you keep doing the
agree.
same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. What do you think's going to happen? It's absolutely insane.
Johnny, if the Angels win today and tomorrow, do you change your tune?
No. I think they're going to end up in a competitive game because they have Shohei Ohtani on the mound. We'll see what happens with Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah.
But again, the order in which this is happening is not working. This batting order is not working. The approaches at the plate are not working. Fortunately, we're going to talk about the approaches at the plate and what they need to be doing better, so that we'll be talking about that coming up soon. So again, frustrating day all around. The Angels are back at it at Petco Park against the Padres at 3:40 Pacific time. It's Ohtani versus Joe Musgrove. Of course, you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. And coming up on Locked On Angels, when the Angels hit well, when do they do it? And when do they need to make adjustments? We got the stats. We're going to tell you all about that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can take your first swing at betting on MLB games on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 that you can spend betting on everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think will be the person to hit the first home run. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly, so that's awesome. There's no better place to place a bet on MLB than at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So you can sign up today by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can get up to $200 in bonus bets. Again, you got to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's when you can get that bonus bet. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, we're recapping tonight's game or this afternoon's game against the Padres tomorrow. Again, we got Shohei Ohtani on the mound. We'll see what happens there. They're playing those Padres at 3:40 Pacific time. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Johnny, Angels hitting coach Marcus Timms has emphasized attacking the strike zone this year, which is more of an approach to hitting than the Angels had at any point last year. They would really approach this, right? And it does feel like this approach of hitting the ball hard and being in the attack first mindset has been helpful at times, but has also been kind of detrimental to the Halos at times. So what we decided to do is buckle up, nerds. We're going to look at some stats, and this is so appropriate based off of what happened last night. We're going to look at some stats as to when the Angels actually do well with this approach, and then when the Angels don't, and how they need to adjust. So, Johnny, why don't you start us with when the Angels are actually doing well with this attack first approach?
Yeah, as a team, the Angels on the first pitch are hitting 355. They're slugging 609. They got a 980 OPS. Mike, there's been 376 plate appearances, so essentially tries where they have swung at the first pitch and had a result, whether it was an out or a hit. They got 127 hits, 18 doubles, 2 triples, 23 home runs, and 72 RBIs on the first pitch. Now, in 1-0 counts, a lot of the same, a 388 average, a 1.129 OPS, 85 hits, 20 doubles, 17 home runs, 48 RBIs. I broke it down to hitters counts for the Angels, Mike, and listen to this.
Good.
In 2-0 counts, the Angels are hitting 409, a 397 on base, 849 slugging, and a 1.129 OPS. That's in 68 tries with 27 hits, 6 doubles, 1 triple, 7 home runs, and 22 RBIs. Another favorable count, 3-0. They're batting .600. They're on base, obviously, because it's a 3-0 count, so they're walking at a .962 clip. They're slugging .600, and their OPS is a 1.562 OPS. That's in 52 tries. There's only 3 hits and 47 walks in 3-0 counts. So,
wow.
So there's only been 5 times where they haven't got a hit or haven't walked in that situation. In a 3-1 count, 362 average, 720 on base, 759 slugging, a 1.478 OPS in 132 tries. They've had 3-1 counts, 21 hits, 5 doubles, 6 home runs, 12 RBI. So it's very clear to me, having broken down these numbers and the counts that they're in. When the Angels are in favorable counts, they've taken advantage of that. So they have swung away in a lot of situations, and that is where it counts. But Mike, tell us where it actually gets interesting in this next set of stats.
So when the Angels batters are ahead, their stats are fantastic. 291, 447, 531, and almost a little over 1,000 OPS. They've got 49 home runs, 140 RBIs, 244 hits. When an Angel batter is behind in the count, Johnny, listen to these numbers: 200, 209, 333, 541. That sounds like Louis Rengifo numbers, right? Like, that's terrible. 201 hits, 30 home runs, 98 RBIs. Here's some of the takeaways. Obviously, the Angels getting into advantageous counts yields really good results.
That's like a no-duh, right? Like a no-brainer. Right. Also, be nice to Louis Rengifo. He's the only one who had a good night last night.
That's true. He did have a good night, finally. But here's the problem, John. But when they're not in good counts, it's not good. And some of the biggest culprits to when they're not in good counts, they're really wasting their at-bats, are the following players. Taylor Ward, Michael Nelson Trout, Hunter Renfroe, Louis Rengifo, Matt Thaiss. All of them really struggle when they're struggling in the count, when the count is actually in their favor. They're really struggling. So why don't you walk through some of those numbers?
Yeah, so these guys are the guys who are wasting counts when the Angels are ahead. Taylor Ward in 3-1 counts has had 18 tries. He's got 1 hit in those tries. He's walked 7 times in 3-1 counts, but he's batting 100. He's got a 500 on base and a 100 slugging. Taylor Ward in 2-0 counts, 10 tries, 2 hits for a 200 average. Mike Trout in full counts, 3-2. Now, that can be to a hitter's advantage. They are up in the count, but here's what happened when Mike Trout is in a full count. 72 tries, plate appearances, 6 hits, 2 RBIs, 24 walks, 27 Ks. That's a 130 average, a 444 on base, 130 slugging, and a 575 OPS. Listen to Hunter Renfroe in full counts. 32 plate appearances, 4 hits, 1 RBI, 11 walks, so he is taking his walks, 7 Ks. That's good for a 191 average. Louis Rengifo, who I just said to be nice to, here's his stats in full counts. 43 plate appearances, 2 hits, 1 RBI, 17 walks, so he is doing the job there. 10 strikeouts, that's an 0.77 average, but a 442 on base, so kind of a mixed bag there. Matt Thaiss in full counts, 32 plate appearances, 4 hits, 1 double, 2 RBIs, 10 walks, 13 Ks. He's hitting about 182 with a 665 OPS in full counts. So essentially, Mike, what have we learned from this? These guys have to get ahead in the count, because when they are ahead in the count, the approach is working. Being aggressive in the zone is totally working. But here's the other part of this. They need to fight off pitches and take the walk when they're in a full count. If they can. I know that's hard. It's easier said than done, but you got to fight off those tricky pitches. You got to foul them off, get that pitcher to walk you. And when the Angels are ahead, this attack the zone approach is working. But again, in those full count situations, they've got to be willing to take the walk, because they don't have very good results, especially some of these important guys here like Mike Trout and Hunter Renfroe. They don't have very good results in full counts, so they are better off taking the walk. Now, when you fall behind, the Angels absolutely have to pivot. When you're in attack mode, you should be ahead in the count. If you're not ahead in the count against the opposing pitcher, the Angels need to change that attack first approach, because clearly it's not working. These guys are so much better ahead in the count. They're terrible when they're behind. And I think that if there's one adjustment to be made, it's that they have to change their attack first mindset when they're behind. It's not working. And the only time they should be aggressive is when they are ahead in the count.
The All-Star teams were named. Fans voted, and then the backups were selected, and Carlos Estevez was not on the team. And he probably will be named an All-Star later this week due to injuries or usage from other pitchers, and so that's going to come. But the point, Johnny, that we want to make is that he should have earned a selection from the very beginning. Here's his numbers. 2-1, 185 ERA, 34 innings pitched, 42 Ks, 21 out of 21 in save opportunities.
Perfect.
His ERA plus is 232, which means that he's 132% better than the rest of the league. Now, Carlos, on not making the All-Star game, he said it's crazy, but it is what it is. It sucks, but they picked up their guys, and I don't know what else to do. And he said he'd be willing to go, gladly would go, if selected as a replacement, but he feels he should have been picked up front. And so do we, Carlos.
Yes,
so do we. He should have been selected. Now, there are 4 names, Johnny, that were selected over him.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these names, and I would say that 2 of them absolutely belong on the All-Star team. Batista from the Baltimore Orioles and Cano from the Baltimore Orioles. Both bullpen guys. Let me just give you their stats. 3-1, Batista, 3-1, 1.16 ERA, 38 and 2/3 innings pitched, 79 Ks and 22 saves. He has a 3.58 ERA plus. I think he deserves to be there.
It's pretty good.
Now, he's their closer. Cano is actually their setup guy, kind of their
been awesome
7th, 8th inning guy, right?
Yeah.
I think Scott Shields, probably Frankie Rodriguez when Troy Percival was here. He's 1-0 with a 1.12 ERA, 40 and 1/3 innings pitched, 37 Ks, 4 saves, a 3.73 ERA plus. Johnny, he deserves to be there.
Absolutely.
But let's look at the numbers of Kenley Jansen and Emmanuel Clase. First, why don't you talk about Kenley Jansen?
Kenley Jansen, of course, is closing for the Red Sox. He's got 2 wins and 4 losses, a 3.45 ERA, 28 and 2/3 innings pitched, 35 Ks, 17 saves, and a 1.35 ERA plus. That's only 35% better than league average. Carlos is 100% better than Kenley Jansen. However, there is a rule that the All-Star game has to have a representative from each team. Now, somebody out on the Twitterverse was like, then why not Yoshida from the Red Sox? Why wouldn't he be the representative? Yeah, he's having a great year. He should totally be there. So Kenley Jansen is one that's like, okay, I get it. You need a representative from the Red Sox. Sure. Not the first one that I would have picked, but I get it. Emmanuel Clase of the Guardians is 1-5, Mike. Now, don't get me wrong. He was an amazing closer last year.
Right.
This year, a 3.40 ERA.
Scuffling.
39 and 2/3 innings pitched, 36 Ks, 24 saves, and 122 ERA plus. And remind me how many blown saves that Emmanuel Clase has, Mike?
He has 6, Johnny. 6 blown saves. So he could have had 30 saves if he was Carlos Estevez and just streaking so far this season.
And the problem with saves is that it really depends on the score if you're going to get that opportunity or not. But to be perfect in every opportunity you get is a really good indicator of how good a particular pitcher is. So if anybody has got to go here, Mike, it's Emmanuel Clase.
Right.
Especially if you're coming down to who's the best out of these guys. Like, you can make an argument that Kenley should maybe go, maybe Clase is better than him. But if you're going to go with a whole, well, everybody has to, have a representative, everybody gets a trophy, then bye-bye Clase.
Yeah.
Then bring in Estevez.
Yeah. Well, and Michael Lorenzen is on the All-Star team from Detroit, and he's, I think, 2-5, and just
that's
having a terrible season. But that's you have to have everybody that represents each of the teams. But in this instance, it feels like an incredibly irresponsible oversight because Carlos is having an amazing, amazing season. And I don't know why you would not go and grab that guy. And again, he'll probably make the team because somebody's not going to be able to get there or because of injury, those types of things.
Shane McClanahan just went on the IL and he was selected as an all-star. So I truly believe Estevez will be there in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
But Mike, last year when Rob Manfred did the honorary pick, he picked Albert Pujols, who, to be fair, was having a good season with the Cardinals.
Right.
And he picked Miguel Cabrera, who's not the Cabrera of old. It was a legacy pick.
Yeah.
And so now we're just choosing and picking and, you can come to the All-Star game and you can come to the All-Star game. This guy who works his butt off and is having a career year in his first year away from the Colorado Rockies doesn't get to go.
Right.
What is up with that?
Right. It does feed the narrative that there just aren't fans of the Angels in Major League Baseball, right? Like there just aren't fans of the Angels in New York. And this seems to be like little jabs. And I don't know how you miss this guy. And I get it. All-star selections, there's always people that you miss. There's always oversight. There's always like, why did that guy go and that guy didn't go? And we'll have more of that conversation later this week with Brendan Drury. But quite honestly, like this one just seems so flat out obvious that it would make sense for him to go. And when it comes to Boston, I'm shocked that Yoshida didn't make it. I'm shocked that he's not a backup and that Kenley Jansen is there. Cause I mean, Kenley's having a resurgent year, and maybe that's why they caught the attention of baseball and they brought him on this team. But those numbers aren't like blow your mind numbers. I think that Estevez is better than him, right? Like, so you get the two Baltimore Oriole guys and then you get our guys. And I think then you decide what you do after that.
What else does Carlos Estevez have to do to get on the All-Star team? Like, I mean, obviously there's no fan voting for relievers and pitchers and stuff like that, but
I think there should be.
Yeah, why not?
I think that they should put them on there. I think that because we're already voting anyway, so and they should have. I know it makes the ballot huge, but I think that they should have some names that immediately get put on the ballot and let us vote away. Because
do a week of position players and do a week of pitchers and relievers. Like separate it out so it's not overwhelming. You know what I mean?
That would be smart and intelligent, and Manfred isn't that. So that's the problem.
Well, I've had plenty of smart and intelligent things to say on this podcast, especially in that first segment. What are you doing, Phil?
Well, listen, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, they play the Padres today at 3:40 Pacific time, and Shohei is on the mound, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to connect with you there. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below the video. We'd love to hear your thoughts and takes. Obviously, fire Nevin, fire Artie, all that stuff isn't going to help because Mike and I don't make those decisions.
Right.
But share your thoughts on what this team needs to do to fix things and change things up, because it's just getting ridiculous around here. Mike, you asked me earlier, if the Angels win the next two, am I going to be happy with that? And I'm still going to say no, because as long as they keep running out this same and churning out the same rotation and the same lineup and the same strategies and the same order, we're gonna end up with more of these games, these 10-3 games. It's gonna happen, and so it's just that's the way it is. Listen, what are we doing for tomorrow's show after we swim and barbecue and watch fireworks? Watch our brother be a pyro.
Yes. Well, we're going to recap Shohei Ohtani's start against the Padres, and I'm looking forward to that. And kind of just say this one little nugget, like asking us to admit that this team isn't good, or asking other fans, like, can we admit that this team isn't good anymore? That doesn't help either. So I just want to add that little nugget in there. We're going to keep rooting for this team.
Sure.
And we want them to be good. And so we're going to keep bringing ideas and thoughts and passion and excitement. And that's why we're going to be here tomorrow to recap the game and talk about Ohtani. And we hope that you join us tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Man, we always make the joke that the front office is listening to Locked On Angels. Well, you better tune in for this one, because we're going to have some ideas for you.
Right.
All right, friends. Thanks for being here. We hope you have a great 4th of July. We hope that you started your day with us and you're onward to parties or meeting with friends or family, however you choose to celebrate today. In the meantime, my name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.